Good morning. I'm audible, I'm visible. Yes. Okay. Good morning. Good morning. So I've received one question from Lakshmi, one from CP Ayappan, and thereafter I want to wait for Vivek because I want to know what has he actually done. And one, three, four, five questions interrelated from Sai Dinesh. So good morning to all of you. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to the session. So we'll be taking doubts, and you know how to send it, but only four of you send it. Yes. Good morning, Sai. Sai, I can see your five questions here. I'll tell you what it is. Has Vivek joined? Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. I am just looking. I have a sheet there with all the questions. Good morning. Good morning, Akshay. Good morning. Well, Prashant, thank you for that. I hope that works for you. Lakshmi Prasanna Amatkuri, you're here? Lakshmi? The people who asked the questions are not here for some reason. Yes, Atmakuri, you're here. So, you have sent me a question, and I am starting the session so that as people join in, we can discuss. You sent me a 2014 previous year question, but you don't realize one thing, that Suez Canal crisis is not a world history question, an IR question. But I'll still tell you what were the events that led to Suez Canal crisis in 1956. How did it deal with a blow to Britain's self-image as a world power? This question is not a world history question. This is a international relations question, because the Suez crisis was in the news that year quite a lot. That is why they asked this question. But just to give you a basic understanding, Atma, though this is not basically part of my zone and not part of world history itself, I'll still give you a basic understanding. See, there are four factors here, or four to three things which are at play. First, we know that the Suez Canal generally was an important sector, connects the Mediterranean with the Arabian Sea itself. And though the Suez Canal Company biggest share was owned by Britain, it was jointly managed by Britain and France. And till the 1950s, the British and the French had a lot of control, and generally all traffic toll used to go to these two countries. However, what will happen is that the new Egyptian president, his name Gamal Abdel Nasser, he will come to power, and he will ask the US and the British and the French that he wanted to build a dam. He wanted to build a dam on the Nile, and the name of the dam is Aswan High Dam, and he wanted money for that. He wanted money for that. Now, what he believed was that because the Suez creates a lot of revenue, the British, the French, at least the US would be happy to give money to Egypt to build this dam for hydroelectric purposes. However, all of them denied money to Nasser. And now, in retaliation to that, what Nasser does is, out of frustration, he says that if nobody is going to give me money, and if I have Suez Canal in my area, he nationalized the Suez Canal, which is that he took control over the Suez Canal, and he removed the British and the French control over it. This was seen as a major diplomatic escalation happening in the 1956-57. This is the period of the Cold War politics also developing. The point was this was a major diplomatic escalation because Britain and France felt that how can a third world country, how can an Egyptian president remove our power? Now what happens is that there's a lot of diplomatic, what we call as back and forth, that you have to give it, you have to don't have to give it back, this and that. However, there was one more country at this point of time which had a basic dispute with Egypt over the Straits of Tiran. Straits of Tiran is a small section again there, an area which is shared by Israel and Egypt. But Israel wanted to retaliate for the Straits of Tiran. And what happens is that once diplomatic channels fail, what happens is Britain, Israel, and France, all three, in a way, invade Egypt and militarily try to take control of the Suez Canal. What will happen is US won't like it. The US won't like it that without taking the permission of the Americans, the British, the French, these old colonial powers tried to take matters into their own control. And it is here that the first UN peacekeeping force was sent to the Egyptian sector, and US was very involved via UN. Now, why? The second part of the question is how does it deals a blow to Britain's self-image? Because here, once the UN comes through, they will give the Suez Canal back to Egypt, and they will say that Britain and France and Israel were wrong in doing what they were doing. Why is the Suez crisis generally considered important? Because this was the last moment in which the British could ever pursue a policy independent of the Americans. It is here that the Americans say enough of your bullying the world. You are not liable for that. And the British and the French both, their power is removed from Egypt. So generally, this is considered a very interesting moment because of the fact that they believe that the British in a way now got subordinated to the US. But this is not a world history question. This is a IR question. Are we clear? Atma, again, too many details has no purpose to you, but sure, why not? I'll come to that. Himanshu, see, first, okay. New economic policy of 1921, how influenced, again, standard Atma Kuri, this is again a question not of, it is literally the planning, central planning concept comes from Lenin. Because Lenin was the one who introduced the new economic policy in Russia. Again, this is not world history. This is all economics based questions. Again, central planning 5-year plan is the influence of Lenin's new economic policy on India. Right? Right. Atma. One question I can see here. Second question you've asked me here. Right? So these are old questions. These are not the questions which used to come, but they're mix and match. Has Vivek joined? Has Vivek joined, yes or no? Vivek Bhushan. Because then I will go to Ayappan. Ayappan, here. Acha. Jhansi Rani, you registered your email as CFI and mentioned my name in the mail description. No issues. Good name, Jhansi Rani. Okay. You've asked me again 2 questions, out of which one is optional level, but I'll be happy to understand or discuss it with you. And second would be the study. So first question is discuss briefly about opium wars, which is again not something which you should know, but I'll tell you. And second is list the countries which we want to study about decolonization process. I've done 2 with you. India decolonization process is all of modern India. You have Africa and you have South, what we call as Indochina, or what we call as Southeast Asia. In that, Indonesia has already been asked, so we will concentrate on Vietnam. That is the answer to the second question which you asked. To concentrate in what I've done in class. That is the first thing. Second, discuss opium war. Now, Jhansi or Ayappan, can you tell me why have you asked me this question? Opium war, what is the point of asking me that question? It is out of curiosity or somebody told you? What is the point of that? No, Ankita, if you want to, sure, but I'll refrain from answering them because then they will start to get confused. If you want to ask, I can briefly tell you what to do about it. No, Opium Wars is not modern India. Opium Wars is world history only, but Chinese history it is. So while reading about China, I came across it. So you are asking it out of curiosity. See, these sessions are about doubts out of what we've learned, but somehow all the questions are out of what we have learned. Sure, no issue. Now again, Opium War. The problem is I would have to give you so much backstory, you will get confused. But still, okay. Ready? Rajasi, Ayappan, ready? Can I talk to you about Opium Wars? Okay. I'm waiting for Vivek because when I will tell you how many questions he sent, then you will understand why I'm waiting for him. And the swagger of that guy is that he's still not entered 16 minutes after sending 50 questions. Randomly picked from random websites. Any and every question which he saw online, he just put it into the email ID. So he's asked 50 questions, but it is not here. So, and that too also not questions like discuss briefly. Can you explain the impact of industrial revolution on European economic and social structure? How did Cold War influence political scenario in Asia, Africa? Major outcomes of the French Revolution. These are not questions which basically he's asking. He's put up from websites and just pushed it into the file. That is why I'm waiting for this personality to come. Okay. Whilst Semishu, I tried to find out of what we studied, could not find one. So, Pratyaksh, that is the way we go about it. Rather, we'll talk about answer writing. Rather discussing random 50 questions, I would rather discuss answer writing with you or how to go about history. That is a better discussion we can have. Still, no issues. Okay. Jhansi, okay. Opium Wars, everybody can generally understand. So please pay attention, may help you in understanding things better. So see, in order to understand Opium Wars, we have to go a little bit backwards. There are two Opium Wars, 1839, 42, 1856, 60. Now, the story is that if you have to understand 39, you have to go backwards. See, since the 1500 period till 1830s, China followed a policy. And that policy was that they had a concept of closed economy. So in India, you could land on any part of the peninsula and you could trade. So no trader generally used to say anything, or the rulers also are very happy for traders to come and trade to their port. So in India is an open subcontinent. You can come anywhere and trade anywhere. The Chinese were not like that. The Chinese had a very strict policy that if you reach any port of China, it's not that randomly you can trade. They controlled all external contact from a place called Canton. Canton, Guangzhou is a small port which was opened to the world. Everything else or any other port was closed to the world. You could not trade as a foreign trader. Now, at Canton, there were two basic rules. First, you cannot come in a military ship or a big ship. And second was that you cannot leave with money. Basically, if you sell something to me, I will, or rather, if you sell something to China, they will give you gold and silver. You can't leave with gold and silver. You have to buy something for sure from the Chinese. So only commodity to commodity trade was allowed. So the people, as it is, the West had nothing to sell to the Chinese. It was mostly them, the West, the British, the French, bringing loads and loads of gold and silver, which they used to do for India also. Loads and loads of gold and silver, dock it in the what we call as Canton sector, take tea and go back. Now, the British did not like this system. The British did not like this system because firstly, they were bleeding gold, and secondly, it's a closed economy. They had no real access to the Chinese economy. So now they find an alternative to bringing gold and silver, wherein the modern India story comes through, which is opium, which is that opium was seen as a commodity which could be smuggled into China. Thereafter, it was smugglers used to give gold and silver. So Chinese gold and silver was then used to buy tea, and the whole need for bringing gold and silver from England was negated. But now what happens is that between 1800 and 1830, the Chinese literally get addicted to opium. And the Chinese authorities get to know about this addiction and they can trace it back to the British. When the Chinese retaliate in 1839 by closing Canton, blacklisting the British, and taking away Hong Kong from them, the British will retaliate by killing a Chinese sailor. That will in turn lead to a war which is called Opium War. And in that Opium War, the Chinese use old style weaponry while the British use very modern weaponry. And Chinese, what we call as British imperialism in China started. The second one is when again China tried to remove the influence of the British, but this time the French and the British both attacked, and that is called the Second Opium War. So the Opium War has nothing to do with your story because it is integral to the Chinese story. And Chinese story have to go back towards the 1600 that we don't need to do. So the Opium War is basically China getting forcefully opened by the West. Make sense? So Ayappan and Atmakuri, both questions answered? Okay. Now, Vivek, have you joined? No. I can't see his name. I'll take up the genuine questions rather. I have in class Sai. Sai, you were there? Sai Dinesh? Okay. Your questions are how Hitler sees power and growth of Nazism. I told you Hitler seized power first. Once Hindenburg died, he removed the executive powers or executive positions in Germany. He seized power through what we call as the Reichstag fire, if you remember. He will burn the parliament, kill all his opponents, and thereafter he will make his SA and SS surround the parliament, and through the enabling law, he will be made the dictator. Growth of Nazism is linked to nothing but the standard story, which is Great Depression, the German experience of Treaty of Versailles, the problems related to what we call as the redistribution of the German states or the German areas into the fragile democracies, proportional representation. This we've done in class. Ultranationalism standard. Why fought Russia war with Japan? Meaning, why did Russia fight a war with Japan? Sai, again, I think a lot, all of you, can you tell me why did Russo-Japanese war was because of which reason? What was the reason for the Russo-Japanese war? It is territory, Manchuria. Very good, Ankita. Manchuria. They were fighting for Manchuria, a Chinese territory or a territory attached to the Chinese sector, and Manchuria was what they wanted to dominate. That is why Russia war with Japan. Okay. Between Napoleon I and III, who ruled France? Now, this is again something which I've told you, but I've only omitted one person out of that story. See, 1804, Napoleon Bonaparte, or what we call as Napoleon, became the Emperor of France. Till 1815, he will remain the Emperor. And in 1815, you have the Bourbon Restoration, and you have Louis the 18th. And thereafter, one person which I omitted here is that in 1830, people got very, very frustrated by the emperors or the monarchs, and they will install a new dynasty, out of which you will have a very important ruler, Louis Philippe. So the Louis Philippe brand which you see today is actually named after him, Louis Philippe. After Louis Philippe, we have Napoleon III, which is Louis Napoleon Bonaparte. So the only person I didn't tell you was this, Louis Philippe. Of no purpose to you generally, but why not? So you have Napoleon, Bourbon Restoration, Louis the 18th, Louis Philippe, and Napoleon III. Last, you've written briefly about Indo-China War. Indo-China War is the Vietnamese, or rather Ho Chi Minh fighting the French after the Second World War. Korean War is, as I told you, Pyongyang being influenced by the USSR and China, Seoul getting influenced by the US, Cold War politics paying through in Korea. 7 Years War. This is the more perturbing question. 7 years war question mark. So Austrian War of Succession is there, wherein who will come to power in Austria is the question which is asked. That is Austrian War of Succession. And second is that once the Austrian War of Succession initially between 1840 to 48, this question was there, Maria Theresa versus the French, and the Maria Theresa was supported by the British. Once Maria Theresa will win, she will come to power. She will die by the 1856 period. And by that, they will again come up the same question, Austrian War or the Austrian Succession. First war is called Austrian War of Succession. Second war related to the same issue is called 7 years war because it went for 7 years, 56 to 63. So, Sai Dinesh, questions clear? All of this we've discussed in class except for Louis Philippe person. Yes, sir. Now has Vivek joined? If not, then I'll take random questions. Vivek, half an hour late. Okay, then I'll not take his questions only after a point. So we are open to, the floor is open for questions. As of right now, all the genuine questions which have come to me, Sai, Ayappan and Atmakuri, I think all three of you have answered with regards to that. Himanshu, again, you are giving me a random thing, which is explain the policy instruments used in economic depression. First, you tell me what do you mean by policy instruments. Are you talking about economic policy? Are you talking about political policy? When you use these big words, qualify what you are saying. This is not a good thing. You guys Google things and send it to me. So tell me, what is the first, qualify your question. What do you mean by policy instruments? Because it could mean economic also, it could mean political also. So what are the economic policy things which are used? You tell me, Himanshu, what were the ways in which the Great Depression could have been stopped? We've discussed this in class. Let's see what you remember, and then I'll answer it. I'll talk about that, Pratyaksh. Art and culture, you want approach, I'll talk about that. Himanshu, come on, tell me. Anybody can answer. How could you arrest or how could you stop the Great Depression from happening? And what were the things which were used by the American government to stop it also? Stopped imports. Sai Dinesh. Again, no, vague. Wage, what is wage policy? Again, Himanshu, where are you getting this information? When did I say wage policy to you? When did I say wage policy to you? You're randomly saying wage policy. Where did you get this information? I'm more concerned about that because now I have a session in which I have a free, I don't have to teach anything. You tell me, where are you getting this information from? Because nowhere in my PPT wage policy is written. So where are you getting this information from? Yes, very good, Pratyaksh. See, public capital expenditure is one. Second is exports. However, both had problems in America, as we know. Public capacity or the government's capacity to have capital expenditure was very less. What was the issue with exports at this point of time? What is the issue with exports at this point of time? Yes, very good. Which is protectionist policy. Protectionist policy, both by Europe and by America. Both by Europe and America. In previous solved answer, it was written in the book given by Byju's. Very good, very good. मुझ पे फेंक दो कि that it is me. Okay, see. Wage policy would be, which is to arrest Great Depression. You would very simply lower the wages as much as possible so that you can retain people. But the problem is, if you make the wages too low, they become irrelevant. Therefore, the government's wage policy or the way the companies were acting were also not enough. That is the only thing. Minimum wage goes below that also. Most probably you're referring to Kushal Publications, right? That is the book which I don't know which book we send or what we have sent, or have we actually sent you anything also. I don't know that. But the wage policy thing, I know wage policy will come on Google. I know that. I know that. First thing, it will come in Google, because it will show you the New Deal. It will show you Roosevelt, FD Roosevelt. It will show you optional level things. I know what everybody is doing. Don't worry about that. I have also Googled things, so I know. So the point of the matter is that wage policy is very simply lower wages, but the more you go lower, the consumption will again fall, and you are in a downward spiral. Right? Himanshu, clear? What do you mean by wage policy? You don't have to do a thesis on American history. When are you going to take early medieval, modern history? Early medieval is different story. Ancient medieval, art and culture, that is one set. Modern India, next batch is with me only. Okay. Pratyaksh asked me this question, art and culture approach, right? Pratyaksh, you want to know the approach to art and culture. So, Pratyaksh, very simply, because art and culture is equally as important as the modern Indian section. Though we didn't get a question this time in mains, that's a separate issue altogether, but still remains relevant. 5 to 10 questions in your prelims, 2 to 3 questions more. Last time 3 questions out of what we have, art and culture. What you need to do is very simply, see, art and culture are two different parts. One part is mains plus prelims, and the other part is PT. Have you done ancient medieval art and culture with me, Pratyaksh? Have you done it? Because I have this discussion in class. So mains and PT part, which is, for example, architecture, 6 schools of philosophy, the paintings part, sculpture part, you have dances, you have classical dances specifically, then you have numismatics, then you have foreign travelers, literature. This is mains plus PT. Here both mains and prelims questions can be made. On the other hand, there's PT section, which is very simply what we call as the concept of uh, theater, art, this and that standard. So theater, martial arts, folk music, the festivals, puppetry, these are called PT oriented, very much more factual in that regard, festivals and all. Now, this part, which is the factual part, this needs to be done on a daily basis, which is you have to integrate art and culture 15 to 20 minutes every day. You have to learn certain facts, be it handicrafts, be it theater, be it martial arts, and more. The point is that when I do it in class, I will show you that it's maximum 15, 20, 30 facts which you have to remember. This needs to be done daily so that you are in connection with art and culture facts. On the other hand, mains plus PT part, here you have to do answer writing. Here, at least one answer in a week, 2 answers ideally if you have a lot of time, 2 answers by going through the PPT, revising through Nitin Singhania, and then writing that answer. Remember, Nitin Singhania will never give you enough to write for mains, but the PPTs are enough to write for mains. If you revise from Nitin Singhania, it should be enough in that regard. Art and culture was majorly picked from current affairs, but again, Devansh, that is not true for the what we call as mains questions. Art and culture current affairs part is becoming relevant. That I always have a discussion before the prelims examination. Art and culture current affairs target prelims, it is called. But the point is, still knowing the static is important. Without static, current affairs of art and culture makes no sense. That makes no sense at all. And the 3 questions which we got previously, for example, not this year, but last year, we had Gupta and Chola contribution to art and architecture. That's a pure static question, purely static question. So that's not a problem. So art and culture needs to be integrated into daily 5 to 6 facts you have to learn, and weekly 1 answer writing related to some big topic. For example, architecture, be it ancient, a temple, or the medieval, early medieval. If you are going to get an opportunity to do class with me, I will be more elaborate in telling you what to do about the 10 to 15 modules which are there. But I hope I've given you basics, which is daily integration, 15 to 20 minutes once a week. Yes? Okay. Has Vivek joined? Monica, if you will send it, it will not get checked. That is the issue. If you are registered with us through an email ID, you send it to IS Live, they will be able to match your student ID. That is the issue. Vivek Bhushan joined the class? So Pratex, whatever I've told you there is relevant till today. Monica, then I would have sent it to the team. They would then be trying to just send it to the email ID which you are registered with us. Anybody, any other question whilst we wait for the Prime Minister of India called Vivek Bhushan, who is not joined after 8:30. It's already 8:35. He sent me random 50 questions, but he has not the decency to come on time. So I'll make you read the questions. You will actually laugh. What are the impact of environmental issues on international politics in 20th and 21st century? This question is not even world history, but he sent me the questions randomly picked from random websites. That is the issue. And he's the only one. If somebody wants to ask something else, I would rather take genuine questions than solving the paper of other institutes in my class. Okay. How can agricultural practices affect society throughout history? Again, random question. Nothing related with world history, random. What is Mexican Revolution? Impact of Reformation, technological advancement in warfare. And most of these questions we've done. And he's actually picked up optional level questions also. Latin America is picked up. Iranian Revolution. कुछ जो मिल गया बस. He sent me whatever he could find on, but he's not here. Anybody else? Any other question? Generally, any theme which you found difficult? I had 5 questions. I had 4 students' question. This is a sheet in front of me here, and yeah, there is no relevance of African wars to you. That is all irrelevant to you. You can't go through 50 countries and each and every is war. You just remember what I've actually given you in class. For the first time, I'm saying you want to read more. I'm telling you, don't go away. Latin countries, again, Snelata has nothing to do with you. Latin countries is optional level history. So Latin America, that is why I did not teach you. Why should I go through the history of Brazil, of Argentina, of Paraguay, Uruguay, when it has nothing to do with you in that regard? So don't start to go to optional. See, history optional, world history is actually quite elaborate. But GS, it isn't. Then why are you automatically make it complicated for you? He randomly picked it up from somewhere and you are hearing and saying, why? We didn't do it. It has of no relevance. Neither Chinese history, Mexican history, random history. Whatever I've done in class is what UPSC would expect from you. That is the only thing. How to revise world history in college? Any recommendations? If you are talking about for UPSC, I don't want you to revise world history every day. I only want you to revise it once a month whenever you get time, and then more after you've cleared prelims. Ottoman and Ottomans are two different names. I don't know where you have found these two names, Taran, but they are same. Ottoman and पता नहीं Otto one क्या होता है, but both he would be referring to Ottomans only. Okay. See, world history is means oriented. Facts really don't matter. And more than that, the trend is to ask meta questions which are more related to the processes which are happening at that point of time rather than the name of countries and their decolonization experience. For that, I have an insurance policy which is already French colonialism, which is Indochina. So don't complicate it. Stick to what I've done in class and understand the difference between IR and world history. Not everything in world history is IR and not everything in IR is world history. So for example, Suez Crisis 2014, there was a reason to ask that question. Because in the news at that point of time, there was a lot of chatter about Suez Crisis. That is why they asked that question. Yes. Anyone else? Any doubt? How to approach the questions from 1 to 20 in mains having different subjects and marks? Again, How to approach this is how to see 10 marks, as you know, is 150. 15 marks is, 250 words. The rule is always solve the questions which you know the answer for 110%. When you know the answer for these questions, which is 110%, you know that I can write the answer. Always solve the questions which you know the answers to first, so that you can write good answers for them. Then move to the questions in which you have some idea. And then the last is to do questions which you don't have any idea about, because as it is, you're losing there. If you can reach there on time, you can write something. It is always to do that. How to count words easily. Again, Atma, there is nobody who can count words. See, the more you will practice, I can look at your sheet of paper and I can make out how many words you've written, because a 150 word answer and a 250 word answer looks in a certain way. So if your answer is going on for 3 pages, I know that you've crossed 500 words. And I can see it through the word, through the font size, how big you are writing. Now, nobody, examiner will not check 15,000 copies and go through each one of them counting words. See, you are exceeding 10, 15 words, 20 words, it's okay. You're exceeding 50, 60, 70 words, that is a problem. Richa, understand my point. It's not a crime that you'll be shot that because you wrote 10 questions, 10 words more. In the examination, you will have only limited space to write. UPSC, there is a only limited space to write. There's a place to write the question, there's a place to write the answer, then again there's a box to write the question. So in this limited space, you can actually make out a 150 word. The more you will, there's an, see, without any, no worry of word limit, write an answer. Write an answer, then count how many words it was. When you had no control, how many words did you write? And thereafter, once you know, get to know, okay, it was 10 over, 50 over, 60 over. The more you will write answers, you will automatically develop a certain sense of where the word count is. This will automatically come to you. There is nobody who counts words. Don't have to do that. Articulating our mains question can come only after vigorous practices. That is true, Devansh. The only way you become better and better and better and better is through practice. It is the only way. That is the only way. Again, how many pages are given for 10 marker? Maximum, they will give you one blank space. One blank space maximum. But what you will do is that if you will start to write very small, very, very small, obviously it will show that it is more than 150 words. A 150 word answer looks like a 150 word answer with maximum a small introduction, 10 to 20, 10 to 30 words, then one bigger section and then a small section. You can make it out. I can guarantee to you that if you will start to practice enough, you will start to realize that. Okay. So can take 30 minutes to write one answer. Again, Sakshi, it can take 30, 45 minutes. I've seen people write one hour for one answer. But to reduce that time, practice. Practice will bring you the aesthetics, will bring you the handwriting. Handwriting keep a little bit in mind, because if you are randomly writing in your own language, then that is not something which you have to do. Writing, grammar and aesthetics need to be clear. Writing it in 7 minutes, you have to first know how to approach a question quickly, and the more you write, your writing speed will increase. Aniket, world history has been modulating from 2 to 0. Some years, for example, they were from 20, in 2018-19, there were no questions. But in 2020, 21 and 22, all years there were one question. One question maximum you can get from world history. That is why I'm telling you, don't have to worry right now. World history is to create a base. World history gets you better marks in modern India, better marks in IR. And generally one question can come. This year again, the question came with regards to railways and the impact across the world. But that is also a modern India question rather than more a world history question. But it's a mix of it in that regard. Okay. Vivek joined. Does interview questions come from world history? Sure. It's about where do you steer it. Devansh, interview is totally about you. They asked you a question about yourself. And some way you are talking about caste in India, then somewhere you have actually steered it in a place where it should not have gone. So if you are discussing Biden and Putin in your interview, it's not a bad thing, it's a good thing, it's current affairs, but it is where you steer it. It's better to be in world history and international politics than actually to be in very fundamental questions of Indian society. The railways question, Pratyaksh, you would need my article for that. The way to answer that question is very simple. If you read my article, which is the railways article, which I give in Modern India, there's a comparative study between India and China. And if you add the story of Industrial Revolution, of the story of France and Britain and their importance of railways in impacting their industrial policy, it will become a complete question or a complete answer in that regard. Anyone else? Any question? Still look out a notice for Vivek. Has he joined? Or he sent all of these questions for your benefit because he already knows the answers to all of these. I don't know. Anyone else? You can ask me anything now. World history, modern, ancient, medieval, whatever you want to ask. Waiting for it. For the first time, you have to say something. I have to remain silent. Monica, I'm going to attempt in 2026. Can I only read multi magazines till now? So actually, you can do that. For you, as it is by 2026, what we are doing current affairs today is going to be static. So you can cover a monthly magazine, go through CNA, and that is more than enough. Monica, can I mention about current scenario in world history question? Again, that is something which is like, how can you see, Monica? It's a good thing. Sure, why not? But the word limit is such, you will not have time. You will actually not have time, which is to write the current affairs things in world history questions. If you can put in, sure, why not? Again, sign, don't ask me to repeat whole modules. Briefly about why industrial revolution started in England. Now, what you're technically doing is you will start to ask me, tell us about unification of Germany, Italy. Why it started in England? Can anybody tell me? Can anybody tell Sai why it started in England? I'll push in the questions. Himanshu, I'll discuss it here only, don't worry. Why it started in England? Enclosure movement, agricultural revolution, agriculture productivity going up, labor productivity going up, labor demand going down, very good location, very good politics, colonies, standard. So what you're doing is you're asking me to give you the gist of that module. I'm obviously not going to do that. No, Atma, never try to do that. Never write in flowcharts. Never write in flowcharts. That is not your joint. That is not. Never you do. Never write answers in flowcharts. Don't leave it to the examiner to figure it out what you've written. Okay. In mains answer, explain one point instead of writing full sentence. We write the crux in 5. No, Devansh, lines should make sense. The key to writing a mains answer is to be specific. Specificities. To be specific, what is the thing which has been asked? If you're writing what the question is asking, you will never exceed the word limit. Never exceed the word limit. It's not about writing the crux, it is to be very specific. Himanshu says, what is this? Discuss, explain, elaborate. Now, please pay attention. These are called marker words or these are called explainer words. Let's do that. Why not flow chart? Now, tell me one thing, Sakshi. The examiner asked you the Industrial Revolution of England. Then you randomly make 5 to 6 flowcharts in front of him. You want the examiner to go through it with the same vigor through which you've made it. Firstly, making flowcharts is inefficient. Second is you can't do it. You can't leave it to the examiner to figure it out. Now, where should he go? This side or that side? Writing in flowcharts is a lazy thing to do. As it is, you can't like पढ़ लो जो पढ़ना है. I have written whatever I knew. This is the flowchart. Don't do that. Point wise is something which is expected. Don't do that I'm giving you a flowchart. Enjoy. That is flowcharts as a summary of what you've written for points makes sense. But only a flowchart never makes sense. It's enough for your PPTs. Yes, mains examination, any answer you can write from the PPT itself. Now, marker words, directive words, whatever you want to call them. You have explain, elaborate, examine, analyze, substantiate comes here. Elucidate is also same thing. Thereafter, justify, comment. Aniket, best is go subject wise rather than month wise. Go through all the polity or economy current affairs in one go, meaning 2 months, revise it like that. Rather than going month by month over a long period of time, it will become a little bit very heavy to manage. Evaluate is basically comment only. Evaluate. Anyone else? Elucidate is done, evaluate is done. Explain, examine, analyze. Anything else? Any other word which comes to your mind? Discuss. Anything else? Critically analyze, same thing. Critically, I will tell you what it means. Critically can be put anywhere. Critically analyze, same thing. Analyze, same. Critical is a word which just is negative, positive both. Illustrate is also this only. Anything else? Any other word? No? Okay. How to revise and cover current affairs magazine. Do you think is again comment. Current affairs magazine, how to cover, revise. Firstly, go through it once full, then go subject by subject, and make sure that throughout the month you're revising it daily, some form of current affairs. Substantiate is also this only. I've written substantiate here. Okay. Any other word you want to add? Can I start the explanation? Okay. Now see, discuss is the easiest. Give points and main points and do not explain, or rather we'll say give main points in support of the tone and argument given in question. Discuss the India-China relationship. Just give the main points. If it's a pro question, give pro points. If it is a negative question, give negative points. It's the easiest. Here, you don't have to complicate it. Main points are something which you have to just concentrate on. Thereafter, explain and examine. Explain is give points plus reason. Why are you giving that point? Can we give negative side as per question asked? Only when it is written critically examined. I'll tell you that. So here, explain, you have to explain that point. You have to explain that point. Why have you written that point and what is the point logic there? So explain the relationship between India and China and discuss the relationship between India and China. Two different questions. In discuss, you give the basic story. Whilst in explain, you will explain why is that relationship in that context like that. So here you have to give the reason with regards to that. Examine is give points plus assess the overall situation with reasons. That, okay, you are examine the relationship between India and China is discussing the whole relationship and examining it. Why is it like that? So the difference between explain and examine would be examine is for the whole area or the holistic purpose, while explain would be for that point. The next most easiest is this, which is give points as examples to demonstrate the question's argument, which is that India and China have a very problematic relationship. Elucidate, substantiate, discuss, elucidate, illustrate, demonstrate. Now you have to give the points which demonstrate that there is a problematic relationship. So very simply, you have to give points which demonstrate or the question's argument. India and China have a very good relationship. So to now give points which support that. So it's about giving examples so as to support the argument. Thereafter, analyze. Analyze and examine are a little bit closer to each other. Again, give points, but assess every point with reason. So while examine would be the larger concept, the analyze is about analyzing that specific thing which is being asked. Critically is a word which can be put in front of any of these. And what the concept is very simple. As soon as it says critically, means you have to give both positive and negative of that story or of that relationship. That is the basic point. You have to give positive and negative of that relationship. And then you have comment, evaluate. Here, you have to give main points plus your assessment. This is the most dangerous question because here you have to make sure that you don't go either extremes, to good, to bad, a balanced answer. And justify used to come previously is again about proving the point via supporting reasons. So if you realize there are very subtle differences between them, that is the basic thing. Makes sense? Difference between analyze and explain. Explain would be that you are explaining the point itself, but not assessing the situation, which is that you're not trying to give the larger perspective. Well, in analyze, you have to analyze the larger perspective also. But see, explain, examine, analyze, the answer doesn't really fundamentally change, except for the tone of the question, how it is asking you that question. That is the only thing. So you don't have to die over it. But the point is analyze, explain, examine, and explain. The ways, how do you explain that point? Examine is larger perspective. Explain is just to explain the point itself. And analyze is basically analyze is a mixture of examine and explain, if you want to understand that. Rashmi, you have joined right now. I've not discussed anything. We are discussing questions which you have. So I've not taught you anything. This class is not for me to teach. It's to take your questions up. That is the only thing. Has Vivek joined? No, don't stress on the negatives. Give negative and positive both. Are we clear? Has Vivek Bhushan joined? So 1 hour into the session, he doesn't care. Okay, no issue. So now I don't take questions from him for sure. Balanced approach means that if there is a negative, there's a positive, take a middle path, which is that the positives will outweigh the negative. Don't become too negative in the examination. Okay. Anyone else? Discuss directive words also. I have problem with current government. So in my answers, I can automatically crystallize them automatically. Snehata, then you have to what should I say? Stop criticizing the government. No. See, Snehata, it's a very dangerous thing to be an UPSC aspirant and hate any or every government. You may hate the government, but you don't hate the constitutional machinery. The point of the matter is that if you are not going to stop this, then it will reflect in the answer automatically, as you're saying. And now the point is that if this will become second skin for you, then you will do it in the interview also. And a shouting match with the interview board is not going to take you anywhere. So the point of the matter is, you have to create a divide between your UPSC aspirant ideas and your personal beliefs. I'm not asking you to change your personal beliefs. You have to, as Monica says, fake it till you make it, Wali. It's a simple, straightforward one. If you personally have an issue, that is totally your thing. But if you're preparing for an examination in which the government of India is involved, it is a government of India level examination, you have to be a little bit more middle path. And maybe for 1 year, if you don't criticize and you can write better answers, why not? It's worth it, because you'll become an IAS officer. After you become an IAS officer, you go on putting what we call as boards, banners, whatever you want. That is totally your call. I am pro government, will I get more marks? That is also not true. That is also not true, because then you will not write good answers because everything is rosy for you. So they will say that, are there social issues in India? So you will say no, or everything is perfect. That can also be the case. Na? Have to be balanced. Have to have a balanced, unbiased perspective. Yes, there is poverty in India. Yes, there is problems in India. The government is doing its part. At a country scale at which India is, it will take time. It doesn't mean that the government is useless, but it doesn't mean that the government is doing everything it can do also. So that is the way you take a middle path, which is that it is doing what it needs to do, but more can also be done. I'll give you a very simple, straightforward question. Have you seen yesterday's CNA? Did any of you see yesterday's CNA, which I did? Yes, I took the topic related to pediatric cancer. Yes or no? Child cancer or children having cancer? Yes. Did you see the tone in which I was telling you that topic? I very subtly criticized the government also, but also I said that they are doing enough also. What did I say? That the government needs to intervene, the government needs to do more, but this volume is very high. So we understand it, but social security scheme should be there. Did I go and say in that video that no, government is not doing enough? Or did I say the government is doing everything? I took a middle path, that more needs to be done, and we need to understand it, the volume at which it is happening in India. You can manage it. Yes. So I have a certain way. If you've seen something, you'd have realized something. If you go through the Hindu newspaper and then you come to my CNA, it's not true, or it may not be true for everyone. You'd have seen one thing. I never take articles which are extremely negative about the government, because Hindu has that tendency to have 1 to 2, 3, 4. Sometimes all editorials are like that only. And even if it is fully negative, I give you a middle path, because fully negative and fully positive will not take you anywhere. It is about having a balanced perspective about everything. Yes, there is poverty in India. Government is also doing its part, but the scale at which it is there, it will take time. Can't say that the government has done enough. Can't say that the government is doing nothing. Makes clear? Or are you understanding the way you go forward? Okay. I'm covering CNA plus magazine plus webinar. It take too much time. It's injustice to static. No, that's not true. Snehata, webinar is to revise. CNA is a standard process which you do every day. I know you would be hearing it at 1x or 2x speed. Magazine is your own revision. So it's enough. It's enough. I don't think. See, Snehata, don't sit with the magazine for 8 hours. webinar happens for 3 hours or 2 hours, be in it, revise in it, end of story. So don't have to, meaning don't have to ratify the webinar itself. Understand this, multiple avenues are there for picking up current affairs. Over a month, we are doing 40 to 45 very important topics. Your task is to learn those 40 to 45 in the sessions, understand them, and then revise it through the current affairs magazine. Understand, they are not mutually exclusive to each other. See, we would do 8 to 9 topics on every Tuesday. I think next Tuesday it is me only, 17th one. So 8 to 9 topics every Tuesday, 5 to 6 topics every Thursday. So we are giving you 30 to 35 questions, or you can say 30 to 35 topics of mains related, and we are giving you close to 40 topics for prelims. It is not that the webinar is something where we are bringing the news from Mars or Venus. This only you will find in magazine also. The session which you go through is to make sure that you understand. You have a teacher to explain it to you. Then the magazine is to revise. Students do it reverse, which is that they learn from the magazine and revise from the webinar. Learn from the webinar, revise from the magazine. Newspaper, current affairs, daily current affairs quiz. That is more than enough. See, it matters if you are 2024, 2025, 2026. For 2024, you have to be more religious with regards to current affairs for the past 2 years. 2 years current affairs is always, with UPSC, you never know though, but 2 years is considered safe. For our 2026 aspirant, that is why we tell you understand what is happening right now, because this is what is your current affairs later. So understand this point. Learn from these sessions. When I am reading the newspaper for you, then you don't trust me and then read the newspaper again. Then what is the point of going through the CNA itself? CNA plus webinar plus these sessions gives you a set of topics, creates a certain image in your mind. Revise it through the magazine, because the magazine will only come after the month is over. That is why it is monthly magazine after the session. Yes? Okay. Getting my point? I understand current affairs is always a moving target. This is not something new. This is not something out of the box that way. I don't watch webinar, do not read newspaper, but cover all monthly magazine. Sure. That's also a way of doing it. Reading newspaper helps generally in being up to date at least, and generally getting a better vocabulary. That can't be the case, Ankita. You would be getting access to our webinars also. Yojana Kurukshetra coverage in Tuesday, Thursday webinar. Yes. In every Thursday webinar, there is 2 topics, one from Yojana, one from Kurukshetra. You don't have to go through that magazine also. Apart from various subjects in UPSC, cost benefit analysis is for which subject? I'm not getting a question. In what context you're saying that? Is there no alternative to reading newspaper? CNA. Can I study 3 subjects per day? Sure. But it's about how much you retain out of it. See, studying 3 subjects is not very difficult. It's about, can you retain what have you've done in 3 subjects? And if you're giving 1 hour to 3 subjects, then nothing will happen. Covering the syllabus once is the biggest challenge. Covering it twice is easier. Thrice is even more easier. It's about covering it once and having an understanding of each and every subject in that regard. Ankita, it works. See, there is no set rule that this plus this plus this will give you the examination. Whatever works for you. Current affairs needs to be remembered. Static needs to be remembered. It's on you how you remember it. Now, whatever you're comfortable in, you use that. Has Vivek joined Or someone else has any standard question, history? What is too much after 3 hour class? It becomes too much after 3 hour class, but that is the way it is. School, college, you have to do it. Time is of essence here. That is the most important point. Anyone else? What are the most important subjects with chance of getting more marks? Again, no answer to this question. 20, 20, 20, 20 will come from polity, geography, history, and economics. 20 more will be mix and match. Current affairs, you can count in these 20 itself. It could be environment, it could be science and technology, mix and match. Now, the point is very straightforward. Is there any subject through which you can clear the examination automatically? No. Is there any subject which you can leave and clear this examination? No. You have to make sure that you are covering everything and every subject, because students become this utilitarian or start to think of UPSC like a buffet. I will do this out of polity, this out of geography, this out of economics, this out of history. That will never work. Ankita, that's not a bad thing. That if you don't get doubts, meaning you're understanding it. Not having doubts is also not a problem. How long does it take to cover history optional? Sakshi, which optional? Every advice for every option is different. History optional, it's totally on you. If you have background in history, it should take you 3 months. If you do not have a history background, it will take you 6 months. It's about how much you know history. If, for example, if you've gone through GS with me, ancient medieval art and culture, modern India, world history, post independence, it will take you lesser time because I've already covered the bases with you. So it's totally on your level. See, optional is a totally different cup of tea. Totally different cup of tea, because there you need to have an understanding at BA honors level. So there the questions become difficult, the coverage becomes difficult, the questions depth increases, and the time will also increase. Does question related to world history come in essay? Why not? Everything which is very vague type question, there's a world history context for everything. So you can talk about world history events in that sense. There will be no question that this is an essay from world history, but generally, why not? So actually tell me with the optional. I can give you a 5 minute break if you want. So if you want it, I can give it to you. Want a 5 minute break? Because a lot of you are writing yes, 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 yes. Think about questions. I'll just say that. Okay, yes, okay. 9:13 optional. Yes, Yojana Kurukshetra, you all topics to two topics are covered every Thursday. So you're covering all the topics of Yojana Kurukshetra through the month. We come back at 9:20. Gather all your questions. We'll then take them up. Can I have personal questions? You can email me, you can ask me here. If they are not personal that much, I'll answer it here only. I'll see you at 9:20. Gather your questions. I'm giving you 5 minutes. Vivek has given us 50 questions, but he has not graced the occasion. So I will now not take his questions generally. Thank you. I'll see you at 9:20. I've seen Oppenheimer, yes. Welcome back. I am attending webinar from 2023 for 2024. Yes, Nikki. You have to go through. See, as I said, for 2024 attempt, 2022, 23, meaning this whole period is relevant for your current affairs in that regard. So last, what, half an hour anybody wants to, because I don't think the number of questions from world history are enough. You're asking me general questions, generic questions, but Rishabh, the questions which you're talking about are not addressable through the PPTs, are international relations questions. For example, there was a question on Gorbachev. That question came because Gorbachev died that year. So it is either current affairs or it is what we call as international relations, and if then world history. Even if that is the case, most probably those questions would be, for example, 2014, 2013. Don't go till 1992. Any question after 2014 remains relevant. Certain questions are there because it's either a mix of current affairs plus IR plus world history. So don't have to worry about that. We're going with current affairs. We're going with the latest question which came was in the interwar period. Before that, it was based on the concept of what we call as rise of Nazism fascism. Before that, it was related to the only 1 year the question was tricky, which was basically the what we call as Malayan Peninsula decolonization. And for that, we very simply are having the insurance policy of Indo-China, because UPS ever repeats questions. So there's a difference in that regard. I don't know why no question is rising in my mind. That's a good thing. That means that world history is clear. It's not a bad thing to not have questions. That is what I'm trying to say here. If there are fundamental issues, there will automatically be questions. You've gone through 10 modules with me. That is totally fine in your mind. Nothing else. See, there is no end. Understand this point. For history optional students who know history optional would know that world history is very big. But I'm picking up from what the UPSC has given us as the keywords in its syllabus. That is what we needed to do. They can ask anything, but most probably Gorbachev's death was linked to Gorbachev's question. That again came in not even GS paper 1, but GS paper 2. That is why. Again, instruments reply to contain Great Economic Depression. I've discussed this with you. Public expenditure. Rishabh, I think you've joined just right now. I can see your joining time 9:22. So this is the first thing we discussed in the first thing which Hivanshu also asked me. Public expenditure, export, protectionist policy. For him, he added one more, which is wage policy. But the point of the matter is, didn't we discuss that how there were certain ways in which the government could have stopped it? There was no regulation on banks. That could have been a better way of doing it. Export they were trying to do because there was a protectionist policy, did not work. Public expenditure was not there. The government tried to encourage the companies to not fire. All of these points we've already gone through. We've already gone it. You don't know it, but you know it. That's the basic point. Okay. Anything else, Rishabh? You've joined right now. Anybody who's joined right now, Radhika, Ashutosh, Rishabh, all three you've just joined. Any question you want to ask me generically? Because here I had 4 questions and one very big set of questions from a person who's not here. Doesn't really matter. The point is, if you have a question generic to world history, generally ask me, because after this you see me in morning batch world history, and thereafter in November I think I start weekend batch modern India, and I think evening batch ancient medieval art and culture. How to get motivated throughout UPSC preparation? Giving me Any type of question. Okay. How do you remain motivated throughout UPSC preparation? Can anybody answer Ayappan? Does anybody have an answer to this question? Motivation, discipline. How democracy came in England. That's called Glorious Revolution, Monica. It's in which the monarchy had usurped power too much. There was a bloodless revolution, glorious revolution it is called. It is the late 18th century, 1690 to 1699 period. And what happened was that they became a constitutional monarchy. The people captured power. Parliament came through. No written constitution. Again, totally properly medieval world history. Preparation itself is a motivation. So one has said discipline. The other one has said preparation itself is motivation. Any specific answer than vague answers? How to remain motivated for UPSC preparation? Philosophy optional may help you remain motivated. Your goal. Parents' expectation is not motivation, that is pressure. Also, you already railways question. Yes, Rishabh, that has also been taken care of. Your dream. Motivation comes from the reason why you started it. See, Ayappan, so the gist of the matter is you started this preparation with a certain goal. You knew that you could do it, that is why you started it. Now, in between your preparation, it will become hard. Nobody said it was going to be easy. Nobody says that UPSC preparation is easy. And if somebody says that, then they are basically making a fool out of you. The point of the matter is UPSC preparation needs dedication. It needs a lot of discipline and repetition. And that is what is needed. And over a period of time, you tend to lose heart. The simple point of the matter is don't look at others. Don't compare yourselves to unrealistic benchmarks. Don't make unrealistic timelines and automatically or unrealistic timetables. Automatically, you will remember what you have started for and you will be motivated. People, they get to demotivated when they either compare themselves with others or they've made unrealistic targets which they are not meeting only. So the simple straightforward point is you started it because you thought you could do it. You can still do it. You have to believe in yourself. Okay. Anything else? Anyone else? Anything else? UPSC is the toughest examination. Plan B rakho. See, it is totally your way of looking at it. UPSC is not tough. It needs dedication and discipline. It's not that extraordinary people clear this examination. It's you and me and everyone else who's in class right now who clears the examination. You may be extraordinary, but you don't need extraordinary skills. You need repetition, discipline, motivation, and straight for a point. It's a 1 year preparation, and in clearing it can take you 2 years because 1 year you will prepare, then you will give the examination, which will go for 6 months, 7 months. Plan B is totally your call. How comfortable you are, where you are in your life, and it's that ways it needs what we call as monetary input also. Be it current affairs, be it a little what we call as material available in the market. You need to buy a lot of things. So if you have the backing of your parents, if they are supporting you, plan B is not needed. But if you are doing as for example, if a very good degree and you're getting a good job, taking it, working and preparing is also possible. Working professionals also clear this examination. There's no precondition that you have to leave your job to clear this examination. There's no precondition with regards to that. No, it's not that people saying to you that you having a plan B is not trying to belittle you. They're just trying to be giving you practical advice. If you see, you can clear it, but they're talking about contingencies. That's the only thing. Why does it say that creation of UNO after World War II was revival of Europe is a vague action of US? Yes, true. XYZ. The creation of the UN was nothing but a drama of the US to use the UN to now propagate its own actions. So understand this point that the UN is not an innocent body, and most of its subsidiaries are controlled by the Americans. The UN basically was the wheel which was used by the US to propagate its idea. Where they wanted to intervene, for example, the Suez crisis, they did. Where they did not want to intervene, the UN did not do anything. For example, Cuban Missile Crisis and even Vietnam War. So, very simply, the US used the UN to propagate its needs. Until today, it is nothing but a mouthpiece for the US politics. That is true. While League of Nations was useless, UN was what we call as a hegemonic device. It spreads what we call as consent across the world that there is a supranational body, but it really has no power in that regard. That is why you will realize that the UN has no executive power. It has deliberative powers. Executive power is not there. Because if executive power will be there, then UN can turn on the US. That is not there. As it is, the P5 block everything. They veto each other's things. So it is a redundant body in that regard also. The UN needs reform. That is true. There's no real thing. Yes, Vaibhav, you just joined. Tell me. If someone asks, tell the benefits of UN. Collective security, cooperation, deliberative device, deliberative institution, brings in, tries to talk about peace, restores peace. Good, I can write about UN any day. Just write the UN basic things which for which it was created. But nothing has actually come through. Has it been that with the rise of the UN, there have been no wars in the world today? Yes, they wanted to shift the Russian UN headquarters from New York to another place because it means that it is operating from the US, which makes no sense. The UN should not be in America. So the point is that with the rise of the UN, there should have been no wars. But from the Gulf War to the Suez Crisis to the wars which are happening in Russia, Ukraine, across the world, wars happen. India, 3 wars we fought. Yes, Vaibhav, someone is here. Write your question. If you can't hear me, refresh. If you can see me, you refresh. So he's entered and he's saying someone is here. Yes, we are here. Yeah, New York is drowning slowly with climate change. That's a separate issue altogether. Separate issue altogether. Any other question? Taran, you're asking me now fundamental questions. Why people from BTech think BA is a normal course? I'm BA honors history. I'm masters. I'm MPhil. I'm PhD. No course is easy. No course is difficult. It's totally you. It takes equal effort to do a BA program, BA honors, BTech, anything. So it's leave it. People have perceptions that is of no purpose to you. You can change it with regards to that. UN is in need for change. Yes. Like permanent member change we need, obviously. It does not represent the world itself. What is the future of India-Canada relations? Now you're asking me international relations questions, but why not? How will it impact you and India, US? See, India-Canada relationships are going through a certain patch. There has been that Khalistan issue in the US also, and US has also not said that we will intervene. The point of the matter is that, see, Khalistan movement is not new. Canada, the problem is Trudeau's constituency. Be it Justin Trudeau or his father, both have been pro-Khalistani in a way because they were installed into the government by these pro-Khalistani elements. So Trudeau trying to talk about Khalistani movement or trying to talk about a terrorist is because he gets the vote bank from there. Now, if there's a political shift in Canada, maybe the relationship can become better. As of right now, Canada cannot afford to ignore India. Major diasporic population as it is, we are importing, exporting quite a lot, and Canada is importing more from India. So the point of the matter is that Canada can't afford to have a very long standoff. But the point is, one second, I'm sorry. But the point is that how does it impact the US relationship is a different story altogether. So when we talk about India, Canada can't afford, but the US can afford. So we have to see how does the Canada, UK, US relationship with India work out. One thing is clear, UK and US can't afford to ignore India. US can. So we have to see how that works out. Optional, they are not. Vaibhav, you email me. I've already forwarded your emails to the team. So don't worry about it. The same Vaibhav Kulkarni, right? I've got your emails. I forwarded to the team. They're getting it resolved. We are on it. Don't worry about that. I've got it. I know you send me emails every day. I forwarded to the team. I've done my part. They're doing their part. I know there's an issue in punching of the optional issue. I know somehow I think sociology you had opted for. You got history. That is the issue, na. They're getting it resolved. Don't worry. I'm looking into it personally. Don't worry about that. Okay. Also affects Indian diaspora. That is true. Indian diaspora right now basically is in a little bit of a problematic issue. There's a lot of Indian diaspora in Canada, and the Khalistani movement is both fueled by that diaspora also, and in a way they are now vulnerable in that state in that regard. Fascism is a wider term that encompasses Nazism. Is it this? No, yes. See, fascism is a word, is an ideology. There are two stories: fascists, Italy, and Nazi Germany. So understand, big F means ideology, small f means the specific area. I'll get that. I know that also. Don't worry, Vaibhav. I know. I have seen your emails. I forwarded to the team, and they're doing it. Don't worry. I'll get it sorted. I'm on it myself. I watch that mail chain every day. I can't do anything, but I'm making sure that something does happen. I'm doing it every time you send me an email. I forward it to the team. Multiple email chains are there. Don't worry about that. Central America faces a lot of terrorism as India because it is also sandwiched between two terror states. No, that is actually not true. Central American terrorism is not terrorism. It's more about cartels. It's about drug politics. It's internal to them. They have insurgency more than a terrorism. So that's all based on their economy and how they're connected to each other through that larger drug economy. That is the bigger issue there. Vaibhav, I'll make sure. Don't worry. I make sure. You're talking about Francisco Franco. Rashmi, you're talking about Francisco Franco. That's called Spanish Civil War, where it became a fascist Francisco Franco versus the people who wanted him gone. They're called the anarchists. That was called the dress rehearsal of the Second World War. That the Mussolini also sent forces, Hitler also sent forces in support of Franco, but again, that is optional level. Anyone else question? Name of India to Bharat, but our constitution gives both names. India, that is Bharat, Bharat athwa India. So there's no debate with regards to that. India and Bharat are two accepted names, constitutional names of India. Why didn't we were not taught English Civil War in our school textbooks? English Civil War? American Civil War? Which, Weber, be clear, which Civil War? If you're talking about English Civil War, the American Civil War, everybody knows. Your school textbooks are not going to talk about English or American Civil War because that is not part of your syllabus on CBSE, and as it's not India. Fascist versus Nazi. Fascists are little bit milder. Nazis are racists also. They're much more heavy-handed. They believe in extermination. Anti-Semitism is inbuilt into Nazism. Fascism is Mussolini's policy, more towards totalitarian state, corporate issue. Yes, both talk about eliminating the opponents, but Nazism is much more heavy-handed in that. Again, British Civil War. What British Civil War? Internal issues they have. That is called the Glorious Revolution. Vaibhav, internal civil wars will not be seen as civil wars. Most people don't know that England had 2 civil wars. Sure, they would have civil wars, but how does it matter to you? Why should it be taught in schools? What is the point you're trying to make? I know modern West, I know European history, I know American Civil War is something which I'd expect from you. Or it has an impact on India. The roses fighting with each other, white rose and the red rose and the yellow rose fighting with each other, or the Scottish, basically what you're referring to is the UK is basically Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland, and England. And the internal warfare is civil war for you, right? So you're mixing up terms, but I don't get the point why you're asking me this question. So that's the basic point. Ankita, if the syllabus sent by us says English Civil War, it may be most probably a typo. Don't worry about it. Constituted democracy and monarchy. Constitutional democracy. Wherever be coherent. You're writing random things. Democracy and monarchy, there are constitutional monarchy. So constitutional monarchy can be there, in which the parliament controls all power. The titular head is the what we call as the king. Okay. Taking management, see, if XY you are from management background, take management optional. These are technical optionals. If it is totally you're comfortable with it, why not? Again, Monica, what you're giving me is very big funda that we should be unbiased in our answers, but most of the subject theories are written from left-leaning ideas. So why this discrimination? Monica, first, now we are going into a conversation we should not go into. But first, tell me, what does left-leaning mean? Then I will tell you what you mean by that. Because I want to know what you mean by left-leaning. Because you're saying a word which is used very commonly, but what is the meaning of left-leaning? Why is it that cotton revolution was, Rishabh had a lot of questions, but you joined late. Why was it that cotton revolution was the first thing in the course of, because cotton was easy to mechanize, the weavers were they were familiar with it, demand in Africa and Asia also, and over and above that, raw material was coming from America. It was very convenient at that point of time in that regard. Left leaning does not mean left wing extremism. That is Naxalism. Not Naxals don't write books. Why not? Again, now we are going into, do you have a world history question? Because now what you're giving me is WhatsApp University, Instagram post, Instagram reel, these type of questions you're giving me. Why not this? Why not that? Why can't history be this? Why can't history not be that? When you say left leaning, who told you that it is left leaning? Have you gone through all the historiography which has been written? For the past 12 years, I've been doing history. History has postmodernism. It has you have the Cambridge school, you have the new Cambridge school, you have the Marxist school, you have the nationalist school, you have the colonial school, now you have multiple others, micro history school, subaltern. There are multiple schools. So who told you that history has been written from a left-leaning understanding? That is the point. Are you from BA Honors History? Have you done Masters in History? Are you MPhil? Are you PhD? Have you gone through the literature this is called historiography? The history of history is called historiography. Have you gone through all of historiography to know that it is left-leaning? And again, Sakshi, for your question, have you gone through all of history when it comes to that? School textbooks, NCERTs are written with certain perspectives. That is totally politics. I'm not talking about that. I'm generally talking about history of be it south, north, east, west. There is much rich history there. If you really want your eyes to be opened, read history. That is not the point. So now what the questions are coming are random questions. But Monica, I would like to know, what does left leaning mean, and who told you this, that it is left leaning in that regard? Certain authors have told you. Have you read one book which says that it is left leaning in that regard? Has somebody said that to you? Can we Cold War Foundation is just the tension to succeed British policy? Yes, it's about who will be the new superpower, Britain or the US. But Cold War politics is more about the perennial issue between capitalism and socialism also. It was about finding a solution for socialism. It's about succeeding Britain also, but it was about killing socialism as quickly as possible. Again, Vaibhav, which country? Royalists and parliamentarians exist in every country. Which country are you talking about? Why be specific, my brother. Tell me which area. Random questions you're asking me. Why are we discussing British royalists versus parliamentarians, Tory versus the other debate? Why are we discussing it? You tell me. Weber, what is the purpose of this discussion? You are basically asking me an optional level question. Chartist movement, British history, you're asking me. What is the purpose of discussing it here? You tell me, then I will answer your question. Royalists would be till today there is a debate in England when the Queen died, that should there be a royal family or not. That is the basic point, that should England also become a republic, and that is the concept of royalists versus parliamentarians. But what is the point of this discussion? I want to know, Weber, that why are you asking me this question? Have I taught you this, or why are you history optional student? Tell me that. You opted for sociology optional, you got history optional, asking me that question. I don't have a problem in answering that, but I need to know the logic, because that puts everyone else in unease, that they think that they don't know the English history. English history is not part of your syllabus. Where are you getting these questions from? I can at least ask you this, right? Yes, I am not taught in school, so we are unaware of this, so I'm curious. That way, you've not been taught about Brazil history also, Latin America also. You've not taught about Australia, New Zealand, China, Russia. Curiosity, you email me. I'll be happy to answer your questions, because you send me these issues, I forward it to you. I'll be happy to answer your questions. Be subject relevant right now. Clarify the nexus amongst Lenin, Trotsky, and Stalin. It's not a nexus. All three are the leaders of Bolsheviks. Lenin is the mastermind. Leninism was the concept on which Bolshevism was based. Stalin was the deputy, and Trotsky was the one who was basically the foot soldier in that regard. Trotsky was very connected to the workers. Stalin was the successor of Lenin, and all three are the three major pillars of Bolshevism. Just for economic needs, West wanted to erase socialism, and there was no. It's all about making sure that capitalism doesn't die. The interest of the capitalist should see, if socialism prevailed, capitalism would die. So it was a battle of two ideologies: capitalism versus socialism. That is the reason why USSR was always pinned. Russia was always isolated in that regard after 1970. Webab, yes, Britain ruled us. I encourage you to do BA honors with me. I'll be happy to teach you. I'll give you books also. You do BA honors history with me, and in your second semester, you will do Mod West, in which British history will come. Then you will do Modern Europe with me, and then again British history will come. British history we do, but it's of no purpose to you, because UPSC is not going to ask you the story of Britain, what happened in Britain, what is Glorious Revolution, their Chartist movement, what is the larger story and ebb and flow of their politics. That is of no purpose to you. You want to do, I'll be happy to recommend you books. That is not an issue. I have enough experience and enough books with me to tell you that. Don't worry about it. Anyone else? Will stop at 10 if you want to ask something right now. Specific question? Anybody? Jinkal, you've just joined. Any scheduled modern history class with you? Yes, the next, I think, weekend and evening batches with me only. This was Rohit sir's last batch with Modern India. If there's no question, I'll stop the session. No question? Was Lenin guided by people after Nicholas? No, Lenin was guided by his own ideology, which never worked and was already problematic. Ancient Muhammad, a lot of batches are coming for ancient medieval art and culture. Check your year long timetable. Now it is the season of ancient medieval art and culture only. No question. Ancient medieval, when will it start? Check the. I don't remember my batches. Whatever comes, I only know that by morning batch, world history is going to come. I think evening ancient medieval art and culture, November, and weekend modern India is with me. Right? So this session was to basically Monica send it to islive@byju's.com. It will come to me only. So thank you. Have a wonderful day. This was to answer questions. The one who sent random questions out of random websites did not come. So we're not going to discuss the questions. I hope Lakshmi, Ayappan and Sai, your questions which were sent to me, I've answered them in the satisfactory manner. I will see you again somewhere else with regards to some other subject. It was a pleasure teaching you. Thank you. And with this, the Adhyay, the story of world history is over. And this session was to answer any specific question you had with what we did, what we had, or what we did in class. But there was no issue there. I've also answered questions related to current affairs and other random questions. So thank you. Take care and bye-bye.